YouTube Live is all about is the scale at which we can reach our audience and really make an impact. A couple of other events that were recently conducted on YouTube Live. We did an event with Indian Premier League. For those of you that have heard of cricket, it's a sport extremely popular in India. It was a very successful event. 72 matches, over 72 million views. For those of you that follow the royal family, we were actually live streaming the royal wedding. And on April 29th, there were 72 million live streams. So 72 million people tuned in from over 180 countries. So it's really, virtually the entire globe was represented watching the royal wedding. And then one of my favorites, Coachella, it's a music festival with a lot of cool bands in the US. And we got over 4 million streams, 61 acts, concerts. And one of the interesting features of that we implemented as a part of this was the ability to actually view live stream from multiple camera angles. And I'll show you how that works a little later. So, what's involved in live streaming? So I have my little reference architecture diagram here, and really it highlights the steps that one has to take in order to, take content from a live event and stream it to a wide audience over the internet. So first, event production. This is not something that we do. This is what our content partners do. Then capture, so audio, video equipment to actually capture the live stream, the video stream, the audio stream. Next, after capturing is encoding. Encoding is a very important step. For those of you that have done computer science, you can relate to that. The fundamental issue is, time versus space. We're trying to compress the data stream as efficiently as possible, and that is very computationally intensive. So therefore, encoding is typically done by hardware devices, so specialized hardware, but there's also software encoders available. Our machines are getting more and more powerful, and I'll give you a couple of examples in the demo session. Next, content delivery, network and player. So CDN is really what optimizes the delivery to the edge of the network, and then YouTube player is how the audience can actually consume the video content. So this is our little reference architecture, and I will kind of describe the steps involved in these all the pieces and how our APIs fit into this architecture. So in a recap, we won't talk about event production and capture because this is not something that we do. We'll touch upon the encoding. At YouTube, we don't actually deal with that. This is something that whoever wants to live stream would do either by using the hardware device or a software device. Content delivery network, so delivery is very important to really optimize the stream quality, and we'll talk about it a little bit. And then the YouTube player. So, encoding. If you have dealt with audio video compression before, this will be fairly familiar to you. If you haven't, I just wanted to highlight some of the important pieces in case you want to integrate with our platforms. You will see this. As I mentioned, encoding is computationally expensive, and for kind of high quality stream, typically you actually have a hardware encoder, but we do support software encoding as well. We don't really have a preference, and Flash Media Live Encoder is something you can get for free and try it out. Once the encoding is completed, we actually use RTMP, real-time messaging protocol, as a transport protocol to actually use as a transport to ingest to YouTube. So once the stream is encoded, it's actually sent over RTMP up to our servers, and from there it's distributed through the content delivery network to the edge of the network and to the devices. We use FLV container, so Flash Video. We are in the works. We are in the process of supporting HLS as well, so HLS live streaming is coming. And then we use H.264 for the video encoding and AAC audio for audio encoding. And for H.264, there's many options, so you can balance stream quality versus the bandwidth required. So anything from 400 kbps, which will give you about 240p quality, to 720p or even 1080p. Okay, so this slide is just a recap of how these terms fit together. So you have the RTMP transport FLV container within which there is an audio stream and a video stream. The video stream obviously takes a lot more space, is encoded using H.264, which is standard technology, and the audio stream is encoded using AAC, and that's what we ingest at YouTube, and then we actually use our platform to broadcast it out to our users. So what's the perspective like, what's the experience like from the perspective of a YouTube partner? One can schedule a live event on YouTube. One important note is today, this functionality is only available to our content partners. We have more and more of these partners enabled for live streaming functionality in most parts of the world. We are working on extending the reach of this functionality, so this is kind of a preview for you guys. If you work for one of the content partners, then you should be able to get access to it. If you don't and you want to build tools for these content partners, then we have some mechanisms to help you try it out. And then we hope to extend the ability to actually stream to a larger audience a little later. There's still a lot of work remaining, and this is a very new product. We only started working on that product last year. So once the stream is scheduled, one can discover it. We have a landing page, youtube.com/live, where we feature certain events. We have events that are showing at this moment, as well as events that are scheduled and those that have completed. You can also go to a channel of a partner that has been enabled for live streaming and see what events they have scheduled if you would like to see it. And then finally, playback. So we use the regular YouTube player to do the live stream playback. It's the same player. You don't have to do anything special. So let's look at what's up on YouTube Live right now. Okay. So as you see, we have a bunch of featured events. Austin City Limits, that's a cool music festival, but let's look to see if there's something else interesting. Okay, let's try this one, America's Cup, live racing. So if you're into sailing, that might be interesting. So let's bring it up.
He tacked underneath him, he's gone back now, he's got clear out to leeward. I think that's what they were looking for there.
And that is a match racing move. If you're behind, you want to split. You want to take it away, and you want to go the opposite direction.
Is a live
Stidhill doing the classic move,
sailing
tacking
competition
to cover.
from
Closing in low, Korea. The gap is
now
narrowing.
notice one cool feature. You can actually select the camera. So this is one of the live streams that is available. But what if I want to check out a different boat? So this live stream is coming from another team, from another boat. So you can actually decide, what you want to watch, and select the perspective and see it. This one is also interesting because it's actually a live representation of who is where. So this is kind of geo version with flag representing which country. So you can kind of start watching this event by orienting yourself, and then decide, I want to follow the Korean team, and then pick from one of the available views to actually enjoy the experience the way you want to enjoy it. So this is, as you can tell, this is very different from your traditional TV experience where somebody makes the decisions for you. It's a lot more interactive, and it's it's being streamed in real time. This is coming in from abroad, and I have a really nice experience here, watching it here in Brazil. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so. This is all good, but we're here to talk about the APIs because we are all developers. So how can I use the APIs to actually interact with our live streaming platform? What's available to us as developers? So we have several types of APIs, starting with scheduling APIs. So these are the APIs that a content producer might use to schedule events, modify the events, metadata, start events, end events. We have discovery API, which will let you discover what's on live. So we have a RESTful API which allows you to fetch, what are the streams that are scheduled, what are the events that are live right now, what are the archive events. And we have APIs for YouTube Player, which allows you to actually customize the playback experience using the same API as we have for regular video on demand playback. So let's look at the discovery APIs because these are kind of easy to grasp. We represent the live events as feeds, and our API is RESTful. So for those of you that have used any Google APIs, it should be very familiar. For those of you that haven't, really the idea here is they run over HTTP. They're very easy to use. So here I have actually 4 feeds, and we call them live event charts. Featured events, so these are the ones that we think are interesting. Live now, so those are events that are being broadcast at this moment. Upcoming, scheduled in the future, and then recently broadcasted feed contains video recordings for events that have completed. So if you missed an event, you can actually go back to that feed and fetch a video if the content owner configured the event to archive off videos, which is enabled by default actually, you'll be able to actually get a video recording of the past event. So, if you want to access one of these feeds, I can just issue an HTTP GET request, and as you see, I get an XML document, feed. Each feed has entries. Entries correspond to the individual events. So this is really, what I just showed you is an API access example. And our API is RESTful. It runs on top of HTTP. You can parse the response yourself in your code. We support XML. We also support JSON. Or you can use client libraries to access some of that YouTube API backend. So here's just a recap of what the live events feed looks like. So this is a live events feed that I have in my test account. As you see, I have 5 events scheduled, so there are 5 entries. Each entry will look something like this. We'll have an event identifier. It will have a video ID corresponding to the stream. So while the video is, while the stream is live, that will actually be a live stream. Once the stream is archived, it will be a video of demand ID. So the ID doesn't change, so it's the same video ID. You can use it to watch a live stream, but if the content has been archived off because the event completed, you can actually use it in your YouTube embed just as a regular video ID. And then we maintain a small state machine associated with the event. So in this case, the event is in a pending state. So when I create an event, it will be pending. Then events transition state as I start the event and I complete the event. And I also have a start date, so I know when this event is scheduled to start. Okay, so that was the discovery API. Now let's talk a little bit about the scheduling API. So we offer the ability to actually interact with the backend using this API. So rather than using the user interface on youtube.com that I showed you a screenshot of a little earlier, I can actually use the API to do the same thing. And as you would expect, I can create an event, start and stop an event. I can change the metadata about the event and delete an event. So let's quickly walk through the syntax for these API operations. As I mentioned, the API is RESTful. So here's an example request that will actually insert a new event into a live events feed of the currently authorized user. I supply the authorization token. So the syntax here should be familiar to you if you used auth. If you haven't, probably a good idea to look at it, because this is kind of how a lot of the web APIs are evolving to use auth. Auth2 is particularly nice because it's a lot easier to use. And what that allows you to do is basically allow your application to act on users' behalf. So we have a scope defined for YouTube APIs. If you obtain an authorization from the user to access their data within that scope, you'll be able to basically invoke all these operations on the user behalf. Developer key is important because this is how we can identify your application, and we can offer you the ability to actually track your application usage, monitor your quotas, and so forth. And then a couple of metadata fields which are required: title, summary, and the start date. Pretty straightforward. Once the event is scheduled, it can be started. It triggers a state transition from pending to active. And then the fields, this is an example of a partial update. I'm using the HTTP patch request, which allows the request to be a lot more compact because I only specify fields that I want to modify and their values. So in this case, I am modifying the start date, so YT when, and then start value is now, and that will trigger the state transition. The event will be started. Ending an event, similar to the previous slide, patch request, and I set the end to now, and that will basically transition the event from active to completed. Updating, as I mentioned before, if you want to change the metadata programmatically, you can. Again, a patch request, I specify the fields that I want to modify, in this case, title, summary, and the start date, and I supply the new values, and I'm done. And then finally, deleting an event. And this one is the simplest. It's just basic HTTP request submitted to the feed against an event ID. Okay, one note, I mentioned that earlier. By default, the live streams are actually archived off to YouTube and recorded as videos so they can be watched later. If you want to disable that in your application, you can. So there's a YT archive flag. You can set it to false. And then another thing that is interesting is you can actually discover the linkage between the live event that was scheduled and the video that will be used to actually archive the content, and vice versa. So if somebody missed an event and in your application you want to give them the ability to watch the video for the event that they have missed, you can actually discover that relationship through the API. Okay, player API. As I mentioned before, our player API, for those of you that have used it, it will be very familiar. It works pretty much the same way with some exceptions. Some operations are not supported. I will mention a couple of them. And then for those of you that haven't used the player API, this is the Flash or HTML5 embed that we have. So today we recommend using the iframe embed, and we have API around it, so you can customize the experience. And here's an example of a player API invocation. So what this code example will do, it will actually load the YouTube API player library. It's JavaScript wrapper. It will load a video ID, and this video could be a live stream. It doesn't have to be video on demand, regular YouTube video. It will register a couple of event listeners, so on player ready and player state change. And here, what I'm doing upon the event on ready, I invoke my event handler on player ready, and I invoke the YouTube API player invocation and method called play video. So what that will do is it will start the video immediately as soon as somebody navigates to a page which includes this script. So this is a way to programmatically trigger player. You can start and stop, and there's a lot of other operations. You can change the volume and all that stuff. So this is important if you want to build your own user experience around YouTube player. You don't want our controls. You want your own controls. You can do that through the player API. As I mentioned, some of the operations are not supported. For example, seek to allows you to actually go to a specific point in the video. So with live streams, you can't actually seek to, because it's a little difficult to seek into the future. And this is something that we're still working on. And, so demos. We have a couple of examples here. Watch Me is a little application that we wrote for Android. PyLive is a piece of code running on App Engine, written in Python, that implements the event management APIs that I showed you. Wirecast is the software encoder, and this is a partner application from a company called Telestream. And Squirrel is a content discovery and sharing application. So let's transition into the demos part, and let's see. So I'm gonna bring up Watch Me, and I have it installed on my Android device. First, I need Wi-Fi. Okay, looks like I'm on Wi-Fi. Okay. So I'm going to pick an event that I have previously created and hit start streaming. And then I'm going to go to YouTube. So this is my channel, which has a bunch of YouTube events. So this is my channel, which has a bunch of YouTube events. As you can tell, there's a little bit of delay. I'm gonna now have a bunch of YouTube events. As you can tell, there's a little bit of delay. Okay. Smile, you're on YouTube. Okay, so that was our little Android application demo, let me tell you a little bit about how it's built. So what we did is we used the YouTube API to retrieve the event list. This application also allows you to create a new event. You can start an event as well. And that's a RESTful API. And then the part that is a little tricky is the part that takes care of the stream encoding and actually transmitting over to our YouTube Live streaming server. So for that, we use a native application called FFmpeg. For those of you that have actually done any video processing, transcoding, FFmpeg should be very familiar. And we use FFmpeg's ability to actually encode the video and audio stream, wrap it in an FLV container, and stream it over RTMP to our YouTube Live server. We access the FFmpeg using a JNI wrapper, so that's the Java native interface wrapper. And a couple of the interesting notes about this implementation: we use a YUV byte array for video. So YUV is a way to represent uncompressed video. And for mono, we have 16-bit pulse code modulation PCM audio stream, and we encode that as well. Wrap it in FLV container, ship it up to our live servers over RTMP. So that's which concludes the Android demo. Let's look at this other application that I wrote. As I mentioned, I was literally finishing this thing up on the plane. So what I did is I wrote a Python application which allows you to basically retrieve a list of events. You can view events. You can create events. This is what it looks like. I can just look at the event that we use for live streaming. I'm retrieving all the information from the YouTube backend using the RESTful APIs. And what I can also do is I can actually create a new event. So let me just create one. OK, that works. I'm actually running the local app engine instance on my machine. So this is the Python code that is executing as I am invoking the API operations. OK, so I have an event already scheduled. And then what I would like to do is, I would like to just close some of these windows. I would like to live stream to my event. So as you see, because I scheduled the event, it actually now shows up in the live events panel for my user account on YouTube. So what I'm going to do now is switch to Wirecast, which is a software application, is a software encoder. So what I can do is I can select broadcast settings and select YouTube from the list of available stream destinations. Log in. And let me just pick. OK. So what happened is Wirecast logged in, and using the API, it retrieved the event list for events that are currently pending. Hello, Brazil. Let me select this one. I'll hit save. And now Wirecast is configured. So I don't have to type stream destination, any of the stuff that would typically be involved in doing the live streaming. Let me go back to my little live event manager. And as you see, the event right now is in pending state. So let's start it. And what that'll do, and I give you an example of that, that'll actually issue the patch request and it transition the state from pending to active. And that's what I'm showing here. It's an active event. So let me go to Wirecast now and hit broadcast to start streaming. Go back to my live event feed. See what's active. Oh, it shows now that Hello Brazil is an active event. Let's click on it. and this is me. So what you see happen is Wirecast was able to retrieve the live event list from our backend. I used my little Python application to actually transition the event state, and then right now Wirecast is actually encoding the stream coming in from my webcam, streaming it up to YouTube, and making it available for our users to see. So a little note about the PyLive, which is what I called my little Python implementation. It's an Apple Engine application running with Python. I used auth2 authorization, and for that I chose the auth2 client library. If you were thinking about using auth for your application, I highly recommend it. It makes auth with Python super easy. So I had to write very little code to handle auth. All I needed to do is decorate some of my handlers using the auth2 decorator, auth required decorator and annotation, and that was it. So it makes the auth2 processing very easy. And then I'm using URL-lib2 to actually make the RESTful API invocation. So this stuff is all very easy. Wirecast, is a software application. It's written by a partner. They were able to actually pull this functionality together in a very short amount of time. It really literally took them a couple of days to get it into their app right before this event. So I'm very excited that I was able to bring it here and show you so that you have a little better idea of what's involved. And then another application that is kind of cool, it's a content curation application from a company called Squirrel. And what they do is it's a application that lets you discover video content. It's on YouTube video content, but not only YouTube. The web is a big place. There's other video sources. So they pull in video sources from multiple streams, and they basically let users organize it and share it. So let's see what it looks like. OK. So this is my Squirrel account. And in my account, I actually subscribe to a feed called Featured Live Playlists. So if I click on that feed, what you'll see is they're actually retrieving, using the API, the feed entries for the feeds that I showed you earlier in this presentation. So I'm actually looking at the live events happening now, those that are scheduled, those that have been broadcast already, and those are the featured. So let me look at upcoming live events. OK. See, there's something interesting here. Oh, Austin City Limits Music Festival. So this is going to be pretty cool. So let's see if I can subscribe to it. So Squirrel uses this concept of a squirrel. Squirrels kind of grab stuff and take it back home. And that's kind of their user interface metaphor. So as you browse content and you discover things that are interesting, you can just take it with you. So I will scroll this channel, and I'll save it in my live connection, and create a new playlist for this type of content. I'll call it music. OK, it was scrolled. So if I go back to my channel, you see I have my live connection, I have music, and this event is currently in my collection. One thing that they also do is they actually keep track of events that are coming up that you haven't seen yet, and they show you a little count of how many new ones were created, so you can see if somebody added new events. And another nice thing is, this account here is actually a curator representing, somebody that is curating YouTube content, and you can actually, you can actually see what else they have curated as well. So what they're able to do is use the discovery APIs, and this is something that you can use today if you would like. And they consume the streams. They wrapped a very nice user interface around it, And they also give the user the ability to keep track of what is new. If they missed an event, because the API exposes the linkage between the event and the video ID, you can actually consume the archive event as well using the same user experience. Okay, so finally, a couple of notes about what's coming up on YouTube Live. So I am personally very happy that Rock in Rio will be live streamed on YouTube. Not in Brazil, because here you have to watch it on TV. But when I get back home, I'll be able to see it live on YouTube, since it will be actually broadcast in a lot of other countries. And then Trama, if you're into kind of indie music, it's another interesting channel. They'll have, it's a partner, and I know they'll have live events on their channel as well. America's Cup is something that I showed you previously as a part of the demo. Let me just play a short promo video that shows the type of functionality that they have implemented, just as a recap.
A new dimension to the America's Cup.
It's just sheer raw carbon fiber power.
This is where it'll start to get serious.
You've got these boats that are going to blow people's minds.
These guys are hanging on at the back of the boat.
It's a hard time physically for these sailors.
25 knots, wow, that's just unheard of. Spinning.
3, 2, 1, here we go.
Tunes in, you've got the 100-meter plus lead here.
The heart rates up around about 150 to 180 beats a minute.
This is speedboat speed. This is speedboat speed. I mean, it's crazy stuff. It's no wonder they're wearing crash helmets.
Because one slip could be catastrophic. The America's Cup sails into a new era.
Okay, so in recap, so why is this useful, relevant to you? We have over 20,000 content partners worldwide, and we are enabling more and more of them for live streaming support. And those are the type of customers that will be interested in encoding solutions, event management solutions, content management, system integration, and so forth. We have a user interface on YouTube.com, but developers can be a lot more innovative than what we can do. I'm sure. I'm always pleasantly surprised by what people are able to put together. And then for our users, content discovery, curation, we get over 3 billion views per day, and there's a lot of interesting YouTube applications that actually present a different user experience around our content, and we support that. We would like to see more of that. Here's a link of a couple of resources. The usual, we have a blog, documentation is pretty good. I have a Twitter account if you'd like to reach us through Twitter, a user forum, and that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, we have a couple of more minutes left, and then again, I'll be around in the YouTube lobby most of the day today, so if you don't get a chance to ask me now, you can just come by and chat with me afterwards. Any questions? Yeah. So the question was, what's the minimum required to be a content partner? So I don't have a very good answer to that because I work on the engineering side, on the API side, and the content partner team is a team that kind of evaluates the quality of the content. Typically, what they look for is do you produce good content? Do you have an audience? Do you already have YouTube presence with a lot of subscribers? So that typically is important. So they want folks who produce original content. They have rights to that content in order to be a content partner. Now, for application developers, some of the partners that I showed you here, if you are developing an application for content partners, so say if you're going to be targeting that group of people, then contact us and we'll help you get access to the platform for testing purposes. So for API partners, this is something that we've been working on to make sure that our developers can actually do the testing, much like what I showed you today. So you could do your testing before you roll out your product to the partners. For more information, we have if you go to youtube.com/partner, there's a lot of information there. Yeah. Okay. Another question?
I saw that you have a lot of simultaneous cameras available on a stream, and they have titles. Is it possible to change the title using the API?
Yeah, so each stream is a video, and the video metadata associated with that stream is very similar to the regular metadata that you see on for regular videos. So the streams in the event are treated as a playlist. Each playlist has a video entry, and that metadata corresponds to what you see with the video. Yeah.
Essa opção de várias câmeras já está disponível para todos os parceiros?
Okay. So I think I'm waiting for translation. Yeah, so the question was, the multiple camera view, is that available for partners? So that's a function, that's a feature of the player. So if the stream actually has multiple cameras, then the player will be able to display it. So this is something that a partner can schedule. And if they actually have multiple video streams, then our player detects that through the metadata, and it will actually show the multiple cameras. Okay, I guess we have time for one more question, so let's take one last question, and then after this, I'll be available outside.
Just wanted here.
Okay, go ahead.
Want to know about if there are any time frame or plans to support VP8 streaming instead of H.264, like
yeah,
stuff?
that's a good question. So I don't have the time frame for that. But yeah, I mean, that is something that the team is working on, because that question has come up before. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to come, but I don't have the exact time frame. Yeah. Okay, so I think we ran out of time. Thank you very much for coming to this YouTube session. I hope that was useful, and please come by and say hello after the presentation. Thank you.